Got it.
My God, it's a hot day in LA. Yes, sirree.
Everywhere.
A hot day in LA. Welcome to Sunday Live Chat. I think it's number 244 live chat. Can you believe that? And
That
today,
is unreal.
welcoming our new company, NEKOFACE, and my partner Eric Peterson. Welcome, Eric, from Oklahoma.
Thank you, Kevin.
Now,
How
where art thou in Oklahoma?
I am in Edmond, Oklahoma. It's just a little suburb north of Oklahoma City.
Edmond.
Yeah, Edmond.
It's,
It's not very exciting, let me tell you.
yeah, I mean, you've been kind of like filling me in out over the time that I've gotten to know you, and it's kind of like one of those things where the scariest thing you always talk to me about is, oh my, tornado watch today. How many
Yeah.
tornadoes have you actually seen with your eyes?
Uh just I think one or two at the most.
But even still, right?
Um yeah,
Just
there's a lot of there's every year, April, May. This year was even March, April, and May. We have had a lot of activity, but knock on wood, it's kind of
yeah,
dodged us.
I'm glad. Is it also hot there already?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, it's 90 something, 97.
Yes. So I usually have to turn off the AC because I can't hear. Well, it's kind of loud, but I might have to turn it on during this because it's gotten pretty darn hot. But around Silent Hill, things start to heat up, and I see your background there is very suitable for heat.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Oh, you
the
got your shirt
Jakes. Oh
on.
yeah.
Yeah, what was amazing, well, we'll tell this whole story about how this whole thing came about, but what was really amazing is that the Silent Hill team sent us the Silent Hill development team merchandise long ago, and I immediately asked in one of our meetings, "Are we allowed to wear this?" And they're like, "No."
Oh yeah. Thanksgiving, right? Or Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a really long time ago.
And then I got my production bag, which is a really nice bag, by the way. I don't know if it's going to appear here or not, but anyways, there it is. It's beautiful. It's like a production bag, and it's perfect to carry your computer and all sorts of stuff. So I proposed the question once again just before the tour. Am I allowed to use the bag? And they said, "Let me ask." And so I think it was cleared that I could use the bag, but as long as I didn't talk about it. So it's
Yeah.
kind of funny that if anybody, and it was funny, I only had around the tour bus and around backstage, but some people saw it and they'd be like, "What's that?" I'd be like, "I don't know, just cool bag."
Silent Hill.
Yeah, "What's that?" "Oh yeah." And then people started like, "Okay, winkety winkety," and I'm like, "Shut up." Shh. But now that the NDA is over and we have been announced as the scoring factor of the Silent Hill Ascension, it's so nice to be able to finally talk about it after what seems to be is it almost a year?
Oh yeah, exactly a year.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
been rough. That gag order was, it was tough even navigating around the house. Like, what are you doing?
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, no, even like, your musical partners are wondering like what you're working on, and you can't, it's like, well, I can't tell you. I could be able to tell you later. And I thought like, more sooner than later, but no, it's turned out to be much later. But in some ways, it's been very appropriate timing. And what I really like about it is that one thing that people might not understand is that we're pretty well into the musical side of it. I was looking over the files, and I think I've estimated that we've done about the equivalent, if you were to look at it on vinyl length, like, okay, 46 minutes per album, 50 minutes per album. It looks like we've done about 5 to 8 albums.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's insane. I haven't produced this much music in my whole life, honestly. It's crazy.
it,
And yeah,
it's been exciting too, because as you guys know out there, or maybe you don't know, that I formed a company with Eric based upon, well, I'll tell the story. I mean, what's really funny about you and I is that I learned later that we go way further back than I realized. But essentially, what's really cool about things is that this came together as a result of the Patreon crew. So yay, big up Patreon crew here.
Oh yeah.
This would never have happened without how the doors open to communication to many people that have come about meeting through the Patreon here. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. Jessica, Skuska, Oscar, Data Bomb, all of you guys on the side here, Greg Nelson, Electro Spaghetti. I mean, Gernot, I know you're there. Cora, all of you guys. I mean, we meet through what's really weird. You meet people through different settings these days. And what was really neat about how Eric and I met is that if you're familiar with the Patreon, then you'll know that at one point, or at many points actually, I started doing these subcon remixes. And basically what they were is I'd offer up a fragment of a song, and then basically I would be like, okay, here's the remix call, and everyone could take this piece of music and turn it into whatever they want, and forward it to me afterwards as a mix. And it got to the point where I think there was like 30 to 40 people sometimes by the end partaking. So what I would do is I'd eventually construct the whole mix into one giant song. Pieces from everybody's mix making up one song. And it was really fun and really challenging at the same time. But one thing that I always noticed about them, and by the way, they're available to hear and peruse as I'm doing now under the remix subheading on Patreon. Just go to the side and hit the titles, and you'll see you can call them all up here. There's 10. And the one thing that I noticed is that, Eric, I think you partook in almost all of them, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think that is how I originally came upon In Quantum, aka Eric Peterson. He would forward it to me, and each time when I would hear 15 to 20 submissions, it was always interesting to hear what would happen. But I always noticed that whatever I get back from you is super interesting. Not to say that everybody else's wasn't, but yours was at a level where I would go, damn, each and every time, pretty much. I think by the third or the fourth time I started telling you that, and it started developing more and more and more, where I would look forward to, okay, well, what's Eric going to do this time? And I didn't realize it at the time, but it's completely obvious. This was right in front of us, is that what a better way to find people to work with than this way. And the weird thing is that when I set out to do this, I didn't actually have that in mind. So what's really great is it was met you, and you did all these things and blew me away. I was kind of like, wow, this is amazing. And so one day I think you said to me, hey, send me, I think I had posted a video where it was like me going to the beach, and I had posted this like modular sound underneath it that you're like, what is that sound? And I was like, oh, that's a modular track. And you said, send it to me. You was like, and I think that, right away then I started seeing that, well, let me send you a couple more pieces. And then immediately you had sent me back a lot of cool things based on that. And then we started getting involved in thinking about, writing demos and working on ideas. You partook in XYXY, aka Resonance. And we've been been working together ever since. So what's weird is that's been a few years now, right? It's
at least.
Time,
I mean,
slipping by. And so you don't realize that you kind of created this new partner, and not even realizing it. And then one day you said to me, what's really, really amazing? And you started telling me the story about, well, you're from Sweden, and originally, And you told me the story about how you first met Dwayne in 1988. You want to tell the story, or you want me to?
Well, I mean, it's a kind of luck of the draw. I think I was interning at a record store in Gothenburg, and you guys, it was April,
19.
and you guys, it was 88, I believe.
Yep.
And it was, you guys were showing up, and I don't know, it was craziness everywhere. But long story short, I was not allowed, since I was a younger child, or what was that, like 13 or 14. I wasn't allowed to go backstage because there was potential hazardous material. As I see Kevin with a fire, what was it, a fire extinguisher? I was like, what is going on with this place? Anyway, Dwayne was out in, and I think it was Greg Reilly, if it may have been Greg Reilly. And Dwayne was trying to set up the synths, and he had a Mirage, he had a Pro One, and some other synths. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, we were standing on the side before the concert, and he said, "Hey, come here. You guys come up here." And of course, we were more like interested in, at the time, where's Kevin Key and Nivik Ogre? Those are the guys we want to kind of like see, but
Dwayne had just joined.
Yeah, Dwayne had just joined, and I will never forget it. We got up on the stage, and he was like, "Hey, go ahead, let me show you this." And he said, "Hey, press this." And I think it was the Mirage. Is that the Mirage at the bottom?
Yeah.
I think it is. He said, "Just hit this key," and I hit the key, and I mean, it was like earthquakes going off. It was so loud. I never experienced anything like it, but it was so cool. And he had samples from Vivisect 6, I think, that we were playing there. But anyway, long story short, a couple of friends of mine were doing the interview with you and Ogre in the back, so we stayed up there with Greg and Dwayne, and he said, "Hey, you never know, one day, kid, maybe you will join Skinny Puppy." And it's kind of a
Weirdest
I don't
thing.
know.
That is so weird. When
It's
you told me that, I almost got goosebumps.
Yeah, and he was so gentle and so nice. It was like
Very kind guy.
when we first came in, we were like, "Oh man, this is going to be," because there was some news previously. I think Ogre was doing with a dog or something.
We always knew.
But yeah,
We always knew Gothenburg. I always say it Gothenburg, but now I hear actual Swedes say Gothenburg, so I'll say Gothenburg. Um,
yeah,
we always consider that town it always has been one of the most exciting towns in Europe to play, because there's such a hardcore Skinny Puppy following there, and I could never quite figure that out. But in
no,
1986, it was a little subdued. But I remember the show in '88 where somebody collapsed the stage, or was that the '86 show where they jumped on? There was basically almost a riot there.
80. That was 86.
Yeah, it was just craziness.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was so humble, and I was telling my friends, some of them probably is watching this at this point, but we thought, "Oh man, these guys are like, really angry people from Canada." And then you meet Dwayne, and it's the most humble, soft-spoken person you'd ever meet, and it was kind of like, holy cow. But it was, since that day, I always wonder, like, hey, it would be kind of cool to do something.
Yeah, and then
Anyway,
by the time you told me that story, we were already well into, you
yeah.
know, what we were already headed. But I think what really was amazing is that somewhere along the way, I got an email one day from Stefan from Genvid.
Mhm.
Uh,
Great
he,
guy.
yeah, great guy. He emailed me and he said something about, "I want to talk to you about something, but in order to talk to you, you got to sign an NDA." And I said, "Wow, this must be something serious." And anyways, we got together and had a meeting, and there was like, I think, a few faces on the screen, and all of a sudden I realized that sometimes I get offered, or I'll get people approach me to do things, and it's not legit. But I quickly realized this is very, very legit. And he went into the discussion on the whole Silent Hill concept of Ascension, and sort of like laying out this idea of scoring this interactive video game experience that sounded very interesting. And then what was really strange is that immediately I started thinking about the things that I've been doing with you. And I said,
Yeah.
I have just met this guy that I've been working with, and I swear he's the perfect partner, because if I'll send him an idea, he won't stop sending me versions. And so he's like, perfect for revisions and perfect for, all sorts of like, you need this change or whatever, Eric will suffice. And, I think at the beginning I was terrified, thinking that, I think, initially I had a really strong feeling that we might get fired because you always insecure. You don't know if you're good enough. But what really blew me away is when Evan, basically, also from Bad Robot, here's the partners in the game here, Bad Robot. Evan came along and basically said, I want you to listen to the score by Akira Yamaoka, Silent Hill 2, I believe it is, right? The game?
Yeah.
And it just touched my soul. I was thinking, my God, this is like absolutely the most, like, I mean, you told me later that Akira Yamaoka was somewhat inspired by Skinny Puppy originally. So I didn't
it's
know
on the Silent Hill wiki page.
I didn't know that either. So if that's the case, then what I was hearing Akira Yamaoka's music and thinking, wow, this is amazing. I'm getting so blown away and inspired, because it's got the perfect balance to me of that lost in fog, that whole sort of, feeling that, you get when, I love that feeling when you're in sort of like a lost in space type of atmosphere. And there's a mystery. And for me, I thought, like, well, I'm just so glad that Stefan didn't say I've got a basketball game, or I've got a driving game or something. It's just like, it was NBA. Absolutely right away. Just, I almost got shivers thinking, well, my God, I was just like, even doing some material lately, as you were talking about with the modular stuff, it became some of the first pieces that we composed. This is one of the first graphics that I sent you.
I will never forget that.
One of the first, I think it was one of the first themes that we did.
It was,
I was thinking, I just wrote down my thoughts, and this is like how we kind of like talk sometimes. It was kind of funny, but and so the job's on, and before I know it, what's really cool is, I didn't really know, where specifically where it would all go. What's really nice is that the detail was presented to us in such a way that, Eric, I put you in the managerial position, because I know, like, that's, guys, you want to meet somebody who's on it. Eric is on it. So basically I knew Eric would be the right guy to manage, like, what scenes are that we're actually working on that actually makes sense. And so you knew exactly right away where we're going to head, how we're going to do the scene, and if we did music that wasn't what it was maybe applicable for another scene. But then also we've had help from Evan, and we've had help from Stefan, we've had help from many of the other guys in the production to help place ideas if they weren't specific enough. But it's just the creative element of the team, and the creative element of working with you in sort of like this managerial level has been so inspiring, because you can, look, personally, I can sit back and I can make music, and I can know that, like, okay, it's going to come to you and it's going to be created into something. And I'm going to say, in all the years that I've been working with people, there's only been a couple of people I've worked with that I really sense that when, we send something to somebody and there's going to be a collaborative, that there's going to be something that you're going to hear it back and go, wow, this, something that I really appreciate, partner. a partnership, especially ones at work. And so, of course, not since Dwayne or Phil, both passed away, RIP, rest in peace, fellas. But, Eric's here, and we've kind of like made a new stamp that this new direction about where we're headed is pretty solidified, in the form of NEKOFACE.
Oh
And
yeah.
I've never
I
read
mean,
it.
I agree with you. I mean, you missed one funny part though, because the first call I will never forget when you called me on a Sunday. I think it may have been after a chat, and you said, "Hey, Eric, you got a minute?" Sure, I was like, Kevin Key wants to talk to me on the phone. It's like, "Yeah, I got this Facebook game thing going on, and I'm not really sure what it is, but it would be kind of cool if, you know." So, I mean, you and I, we did not know at all I mean, it was what, a good couple of weeks at least. I didn't know what we were getting into. I knew there was horror, Facebook,
I knew,
and I
but
was,
I just couldn't say it to you yet until you were signed
yeah,
up.
it was pretty funny though.
Was that a thing where you were like, okay, well, it's kind of cool because we'd done 10 remixes, and you shine on those, and it wasn't like specifically just me and you. You were remixing with 20 other people, and it's like you're always shining. And then all of a sudden I'm calling you, and it's like, okay, this is the real world here. It was kind of like a real world for me, because I thought like, well, and especially after I started hearing the results and I mean, guys, the most exciting thing about making a new project is when the project starts creating its own identity. So as a result of hearing now multiple albums worth of material between us, I now know what we sound like.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I don't think we really have to, like, it's not so much, okay, well, Akira Yamaoka should just join our band because it's definitely inspired by him. But I mean, if he was originally inspired by Skinny Puppy, then it's full circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's absolutely
But
full circle. And I would like to have that confirmed, by the way, because there would be nothing greater than going over to Japan and meeting up with Akira at this
oh,
point.
I agree. I mean, I've
That
seen a couple of different versions. I mean, I've definitely Skinny Puppy. There's been Night Serap, Front 242, but then it wears off to that he was inspired by, British, trip hop type 90s bands, Massive Attack and stuff like that. But, yeah, definitely I think the quote unquote was, it wouldn't have been, the soundtrack would have not been for, and it specifically was Cleanse Fold, if I recall correctly, that album that he had pointed out. Uh, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
oops, what's that? No, that didn't work.
Definitely like a surreal experience. And I mean, when this is kind of the weird things for the people out there, it's like the audiograms that was presented, I think, didn't portray the real picture of the soundtrack. So, I mean, I think you're in for something very, very, I don't know. It's a new sound. You can definitely tell that
Your guilt.
Kevin, that you're involved,
You
and you can tell that it's this amazing kind of
You want to know how you can
horror, orchestral, industrial,
you
but
can.
yeah, I feel like the actual tempo, the momentum, the feeling. I mean, we went as integrate. I don't know how you want to jump in to these discussions yet or not, but like reading the narrative, looking at, they would send us art, just everything. I mean, it's very inspiring process, actually.
Can you hear this?
Because no matter
Yeah.
how fast, how far you run, your past will catch up with you.
Oh yeah, the Pro One.
Man, I
Yeah,
mean, the monsters, you know, kind of exciting to be working on something that has such nice monsters.
oh yeah. I mean, it's the thing with that trailer was kind of cool story in its own, because the original trailer was made by Trailer Park, a large Los Angeles Hollywood company that made, I think they've done Oppenheimer, Blade Runner trailers. I mean, a huge company. But the CEO for Genvid and Stefan was very adamant that we collaborated with Evan Chen. Shout out to him.
Evan
He did
Chen,
a great job.
Evan Chen from
Yeah, he
Babylon.
was. Oh yeah, and he worked on Diablo 3, World of Warcraft, and many games. Saw movies. We need to call Charlie Clouser up. But so that trailer, the sound was basically NEKOFACE with Evan or his team. So it has our DNA together with the sound designers, which are really talented guys.
I got to say, there's got to be a team of individuals, Adrian and Chani, and there's one more name I'm forgetting right now, in the editing music team up there in Montreal.
Max, we got
Max, big up Max. Here's Stefan here. Of course, thank you, Stefan, for bringing us on board, because like there's nothing greater than when somebody like thinks that you might be right for something and then brings you in, and then I believe it feels like these guys are very happy. So it's been an amazing partnership created with this team, and working with this whole crew has been exhilarating.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Stefan too. I mean, in our team meetings, I think he's definitely on, if you want to say it, on our side, but he would bring up, songs, old Severed Head songs, like really like industrial record stuff. I mean, you're talking SPK, like old stuff from as inspiration. It's like, hey, how about this song? Is there a way we can? So he is definitely, and I think he has more sense than, well, probably not as you, but he's definitely have more sense than I do. So he's a huge inspiration to us. The guy right there.
I mean, it's cool that like the whole team seems to inspire one another.
Yeah.
So the whole crew is definitely like a circular world of inspiration. And I don't know, I didn't think that I could find as good a match as this. Big up Xiaoling.
Yeah, she is the producer for this. And I think, I mean, one of the things that I keep getting asked, what is a mile, and what is this? Is it a game? Is it, what is it? But it's hard to point out, but I mean, it's a tangible kind of an interactive experience. And I think that Jacob had mentioned the other day, if you go to polygon.com, there's a great description, but it's kind of like the Netflix. But you partake in a story, and you can, be a part of the decision-making process of the outcome of the different seasons.
Like Black
so
Mirror,
it's
like Black Mirror-ish almost.
I think they did one Black Mirror show, and I don't know. I mean, that was kind of the test. Yeah.
But this one is like, I think on that one, you could go back and try out the other outcomes to see what would happen. So they had to design all of it. But with Silent Hill Ascension, the community decides together how the game's going to proceed.
Yeah. And Shannon Ingalls right there, she is absolutely brilliant writer. She's, I think she's partaking in some new AAA video games, like I think she was part of BioShock and some other crazy games from a couple of 10 years ago. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing with composition to this versus making a song is so different. And it becomes completely an immersive experience for me. And I mean, it's like you were mentioning, we live in it. We almost like we live in the Silent Hill. We go into the fog, to the the Mirkwood type of
Us and the
style.
fog of our own trauma came on the screen when you said that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of the songs or pieces of music, whatever. If you visualize things, and it's multiple phases of music, so it's it could have arpeggiators. It could be just I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, from analog synthesis to Lusmore, that perspective. I mean, there's such a broad spectrum. But what was so fun to me, at least, was you would send me these insane like takes. Like you would go in your studio, it's like, Eric, I'm motivated today. I'm like, okay, great. And then later you would send me tracks, and I mean, it's a lot of that stuff just worked out. So I don't know how it did that, Kev. I mean, honestly, how it flowed together and matched so well, but it did. And I mean,
Well,
I'm really proud of what we've done. I mean,
yeah,
I
man.
listened to the other night. It's just crazy.
I'm really proud of what you've done, because like I know what it takes to to round off a partnership, man. It's just like sometimes, when you're in a partnership, you'll be very hopeful that the other person or whatever, you'll be hopeful. But now I don't have to have, I don't have that like, wow, let's hope. It's more like, oh, wow. And so that's the mark of like what I get blown away by about a real amazing partnership. Is just we're able to take both of ourselves to a new place, which is, for me, it's just kind of like what Silent Hill is. We're both going there together,
Yeah.
and then so by the time it hits me and comes back after you've managed and done what you do, you'll be like, "Are you looking for approval?" I'll be like, "Dude, you already know." Yes, yes. This is great, and so it's become really exciting. I mean, I've had a lot of questions from people about, well, how will we hear this music and everything? And it's like, well, I guess you'll hear it obviously integrated within the game, but I don't know if there's any plan to release the music independently after that, whatever. There really hasn't been much of a discussion on that, but
Yeah. I mean, knowing what I just mentioned, our amazing Stefan, I think he loves anything industrial and in that era, and I think he loves vinyl records. So I think he didn't just get you on for just to score. I'm sure there will be something fun, but I like I said, I don't know any plans or anything like that, but it would be awesome if something was released.
if you guys go to the Silent Hill Ascension YouTube page, basically there's a couple of examples that are available for you to listen to, of little sections of music and stuff like that you can go and listen to there.
Yeah.
Go
Or
check
ascension.com too, I think.
Yeah, go check it. Go check them out there. But we also posted them here. I guess the game is like they're looking at it coming out in October.
Yep.
That's the goal. So it's
That
gonna.
is the goal.
I mean, I always think October is the best time of year for horror. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Heat like this, it's like give me a show about ducks in Alaska.
No, I mean, the one thing that also I want to re-emphasize for some of the fans and my, Silent Hill fans, if anybody is watching that likes the game, especially Silent Hill 2, not Homecoming and the others, but this team, they emphasized on the immersion and also the whole aspect of the atmosphere to be very Silent Hill. I mean, that's been one of the core elements. I remember we were in this box. I would veer out a little bit, musically, and then no, I come back in to Silent Hill. So I don't think, even though it's a new experience and can't really like tangibly explain it yet because we haven't experienced it, but I think if you're a hardcore Silent Hill fan, I think you are going to dig this project for sure.
I think so too. I mean, I think we put everything into this that we would regularly put, well, that I would regularly put into any project that I've ever worked on. And
Yeah.
so, the end result for me, from what I'm hearing, I just wanted to always call Eric, and after he sends them to me, and I'll be like, okay, congratulations. Just pat you on the back terminally now. So I feel really good about the outcome of it all. Yeah, what platform is it on? Ask Nick.
I think, oh my gosh, everything. I think they have met with Sony. Obviously, Konami has a huge relationship with Sony. So PS5, phones in some fashion, but all the gaming consoles for sure. And then let me see, Steam for sure also, I think. There've been some discussions around some other platforms, but I if you have an Xbox or a PC or PlayStation, it's safe to say that you're going to be good.
So let's talk a little bit about your setup. I mean, pretty much everybody knows my setup here. What type of setup you got going over there that you like to work? What's your DAW or your? Are you? I know you were switching around a bit. You're going between Bitwig and Logic. Have you settled on one in particular?
Well, I've kind of gone back to Logic, quite honestly. One thing that, I mean, when you compose music for score, I mean, I was really kind of interested in exploring all the synths and sit for hours. We got the Op6 and all the Wave Station and all these different synths, but ultimately it's speed. So for me, it was kind of like, what can I work in that I can get the most effectively done, the fastest without having distractions. So for me, yes, Bitwig played a huge role in, it's a playground for sounds. I love it's kind of like a OP1 VST type of thing, where like if you took the OP1 into a software, it's kind of a Bitwig. But Logic, ultimately, I think for me is where I don't have to think. So if I don't have to think, the focus becomes on the music and the sound. So that for me became the most important aspect. So Logic Pro X is in Cubase, and sometimes where Evan will send me files, but honestly, Kevin, I was like, open Logic. I know my way around so well. I can.
Yeah.
So, but as far as synths and stuff, I mean, I've even tried to incorporate the iPad and stuff into it, but it's hard. But let's see, Serum is, Contact. Golly, I'm trying to think. Serum, Vital is a pretty cool synth via plugin synth. Omnisphere. And then, of course, I have my trusty Swedish Electron collection.
Those guys?
I mean, old stuff. I love the Yuhi collection stuff, of the Repro. And I even think we have some curious synths, like what is that thing?
The Mini Freak. We all bought
Mini Freak. Yeah, Mini Freak. Yes. That's insane. That
Yeah,
thing can make sense.
I actually really love the Mini Freak. But yeah, no, we always discuss synths now. Like, I mean, it's really funny because you were adventurous in going out and trying a whole bunch of stuff, and then recently, just even this week or whatever, we both got an OP1 field.
Oh,
and, man, I'm just blown away by it. And
Oh yeah, I still can't. I mean, I suck at it, but
yeah, it's a
I'm getting better.
little bit of a, it has a little bit of a learning curve to it, but once you're inside this little baby, I'm going to say that the design of it to me is like, it surpasses, like, to me, it's like, I like to think about architecture or synthesis as being like, as what we're talking about, how much you have to think after you get to know it when you're strolling through it. And once you get to know the OP1, basically the thought and the stroll and the whole way of music making becomes so enjoyable. It's probably one of the most enjoyable keyboards I've ever bought.
Oh yeah, I agree. The graphics, I mean, everything with the user interface, just like interacting with it. When you showed me with my lesson, which I'm
Yes.
very grateful for. I mean, it's like when you almost have to have that, somebody that really knows the synth
You,
well.
Other than that, it'll just take you a long time to figure that out. But
Yeah.
I find that, if I was shown that at first, I'd be like, oh, wow, because that opens the door to the how to think about it. And if anybody wants a lesson from me, they're just going to have to maybe ask Eric to send them you recorded it, right?
I did. It's legendary. Private synth lesson from Kevin
Private synth
Key.
lesson. Well, maybe I'll do private synth lessons here on Patreon.
No, it was great. I mean, I think I mean, completely underestimated as a synth. I mean, it is,
Yeah,
you look at it, you think it's a toy, but then when you get into it, it's like, holy shit, this thing is like legit.
it's
This really professional synth. I mean,
like
it's crazy.
it's like
It
a
sounds,
Ray Kurzweil level beyond even. I've got to say
oh
that
yeah.
it's like whoever designed the OP1, big up to you because Eric and I and everybody else that I know that knows about it considers you a genius. It's just
Oh
such a perfect design. All I
yeah.
think the OP1 should be they should have like a nice version where it actually has real keys and like just some mega way of like, stepping it up. I would get it if they had that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole workflow with the arpeggiators, the pattern sequencers, and being able, I mean, and then modulation. You can modulate your voice into a synthesizer. I mean, I, I don't even know what to say. I'm mind blown, and I kind of sad that I didn't get one earlier because I mean, it's a true inspiration.
Simon made this NEKOFACE. Skinny
Awesome.
P, Kevin Key, and Eric Peterson in Quantum, harmonizing chaos from industrial roots to unique soundscapes. Our music speaks the language of the bold. NEKOFACE, by the way, we are on Instagram now at NEKOFACE Music. If you guys
Yeah.
go want to follow us on Instagram, that is our right now. We have that, and we also have nekoface.com. What's
Yes.
the story on NEKOFACE? How did we come up with that?
Well, I think I
That's
had some ridiculously bad ideas of names, and I think you just responded and said, Nick, it's NEKOFACE.
I just
Uh,
always get this picture right away of it'll just come to me. It'll just right
Yeah.
away. I'll be like, it's not like I don't even have four choices. I'm just like, no, remember, it's like I said to you, I think it's NEKOFACE.
Yeah.
And the thing is that as soon as I talked to her about it with, by the way, what is that? Is that a rubber stamp or something?
No, that's my
cake?
son Carson 3D printed that. I
Oh,
actually have
wow,
a couple of
cool.
those. Yeah, just to test it out. But yeah.
Big up Carson. Carson is also
Yeah.
that's been behind designing NEKOFACE.com.
Yep.
Your son.
He's the mastermind, and he keeps me organized with my files. He claims that my file is a mess. File structure.
Well, your youngins can always one up you. I always love that when like now when my stepkids come over, I'll be like, God, what are you talking about? Be like, I'm talking about some advanced video game system. I don't even, crazy. But yeah, we talked with Simon Paul, and we're talking about getting some logos. And I think we were like, yeah, shooting around the idea and zeroing in on many different logos. All of them are cool, I thought. And then we're like thinking, oh yeah, definitely this one looks the most like Fisherman.
Yeah.
So I went with that. And then it got zeroed in a little more, or a little more refinement. And then yeah, that's our official logo now, folks.
No, people love it.
That's how you come up with a logo, is when you got a guy like Simon Paul who's just ready to
Yes.
roll on all these different variations. It's like you, Eric. When I'd send you a piece of music, you'd send me back like 10 ideas about it.
He is a genius. That guy, I mean, I don't know how he comes up with it. Did you see the eye? I didn't notice the eye in the text until the other day.
The eye in the
Small
text?
details. Yeah,
Did I miss something?
Yeah, in the O, if you look at the Neko, there's
Okay,
a cat eye, a sideways cat eye.
oh, look at that.
I mean, there's always small details that he adds in, and it's
yeah.
kind of like,
Now that you say that, God, yeah, why wouldn't me, Mr. Cat Guy, notice that this is an eye, sideways cat eye? See, Simon,
yeah,
Paul, you're always thinking ahead. And I don't have any tattoos, but this might be one I would go for. This cat head.
we might have to go and get the ink.
But right away, I thought, like, what I liked about the beginning, about talking with Stepan and Genvid and Bad Robot and all these guys, was, they all have these cool logos. So I was like,
Oh yeah,
I was thinking, like, right away, it would be cool to see a NEKOFACE logo in there when they can announce that we're involved. So hopefully our logo will join these all these other good people here. Bad Robot.
I think that's a for sure thing. They told me that, so that will be exciting for sure.
We had to have a logo that would look as good as theirs too. So we're excited about that. Also, recently, what was really cool, I don't know if Eric, you haven't even seen this, but Simon's on the ball again, and he said he thinks that we need to have some swag. So I was like,
Oh
ooh.
my gosh, look at that.
So I think we'll have this coming up, folks. NEKOFACE shirts. We got two variations here. This is the front, this is the back. Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
And then there's a different variation on color, and then there's that one shrunk. There's a different variation on the back. On this one, it has like a house.
I'm telling you, he is like, how does he come up with this stuff? Like, it's insane. I love it.
He's fluid. That's what it's called. He's an artist. It's called. I believe it's just called artistry. And I don't. I'm so thankful for you, Simon. Without you,
Oh, me too.
Without you, I would be naked. And you help everything that we do be more fun and more complete. So I thank you for that, my friend. And thus we've been able to have fun. Where you've been able to meet Simon and talk with him and all that sort of stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Been very fun.
I'm looking forward to the next whatever is next. I think, I mean, just the working relationship is something that has just kind of clicked for me as well. I mean, I don't know if you recall, I mean, coming up with new music every month with deadlines, it's not easy, especially if you have pressure and, the cinematic team or it's kind of behind, but we still have to deliver. So they send us pictures and, hey, this is a monster halfway finished or whatever. But it was always like, we got it done and it felt so good. I mean, every time we delivered, I don't think we didn't have one meeting where they said no. If there was something, you and I said, it's too happy.
Got directed to another scene.
Yeah, yeah,
One would be maybe not exactly correct, and they'd be like, well, we'll allot that to the flower picking scene, or
yeah.
it might be. But that's called a good team again. That's like, well, if we can't utilize it here, we'll utilize it there instead of just, not being able to utilize it. So, well, I know we're not finished yet either. I know we've still got a lot of work coming up here until we're under contract until October. So basically, I know there's a lot more coming, but maybe we have tackled the better part of our share. But I know that other departments will probably need our services as time goes on here. Who knows how long?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the process, I mean, so for everybody out there, so there's us composing the music, and usually it's in 30-second increments, or could be a minute or 2 minutes, whatever it may be. But then the sound team has to take that and put it in through a third-party app called Wwise that is tied to the Unreal Engine, which is the engine. I think it's 4.2 or something, if everybody is interested, but it's Unreal Engine, and then all the music is triggered by AI and so forth, actionable AI through Wwise, WWISE, I think it's called. But I mean, the whole process is way more intense than I would have ever imagined, but it's definitely really cool to learn also. I mean, it's two aspects of it. We got the cinematic side, which is scoring to picture, and then we have the game side, which is more, working with the tech guys up there in Montreal and wherever they are.
We'll try to out evil you here.
No, but it's cool stuff. I mean, it's I think people will love it. Hopefully as much as we love it. It's been very inspiring. I think it was kind of like my wife's like, "You're not going to work on whatever." I can't remember what it was. Oh, you're not going to work on Cyberactive anymore? I said, "No, I'm going to work on this other thing."
Well, the great thing is that you and I are natural at what NEKOFACE is, which is dark ambient. I just call it like a dark ambient project. It's not necessarily ambient either. It could be pretty heavy as well. But the atmospheric part of it is completely unique to a new project. So that's what should be exciting for everybody, is that it really is cool. It has tinges of remind me of like Dwayne type stuff, but I can't say that because it's you and it's me, and that's what it is. And as Dwayne said, maybe one day you might find yourself in Skinny Puppy. It's not
so weird.
Maybe it's not Skinny Puppy, it's NEKOFACE. But
all my friends in Sweden would know how passionately nerdy we were about Skinny Puppy back in the day. So for them to probably see me sitting here with you right now is bizarre, to say the least.
Your friends in Sweden, man.
Yeah. We were really nerdy.
Let's see what some of the Patreons are saying here on Patreon. Allison, thank you. Tristan, congrats to you both. The trailer sounds amazing. Joey, you said about 8 LPs worth of material were constructed for this project. Do you think the used music will see a proper release? What's funny is that Artifact, Stefan, if you're listening, Artifact contacted me and said they want to release any of it on vinyl. We want it. And also one of my friends, Mr. Cyrus Rex, has opened up a new vinyl pressing plant here in Southern California. I'm going to get into more detail on that as the weeks go on, possibly have him back to talk about it and run us through the shop and how to get in touch and make your own vinyl. But it could also open up the door for Subcon to be able to make vinyl pressings of whatever things that we're working on. And that's going to be a huge up. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. Joey, I'm a huge fan of your instrumental work music for cats. You're going to love this then. You're going to love NEKOFACE. There's dark elements, but also I find it's very very much. If you've been a fan of any of the projects, I think you will love it. Jacob T, related to the above, why was so much music composed for this project? Was it just going with the creative flow? Eric, I believe that there's how they break it down. Each month there is a number of milestones. We have
Yeah.
a milestone each month. And on each milestone, it would depict the scene, the activity, the character, and then the setting. And then basically we would give that information and basically compose on that basis. And quite often there was five or six pieces on a monthly basis, right?
Oh, absolutely. And there's more. I mean, I can't reveal I don't think the details have been revealed, but there's specific subcategories
Yeah.
to each element in the game that we had to also score. So there's identities, as far as I can go with that, that is associated with melodies.
Yeah. And that was fun too. Because then,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you sit down and you actually write music, you don't typically think about an identity that has characteristics. And then you start thinking about that, and instantly it would bring an idea. So that's really fun. I think scoring for me, like at my age, I've done some scoring in the past with Scaremeister, and working on End of Days. I actually got the name Scaremeister from Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was so funny. And
That's
so
pretty awesome.
I did have some fun times scoring some stuff. I worked on the double with John Debney, and with Alex Lifeson was part of that from Rush. So I've had some cool things happen. But this is one of my most fun, mainly because it's front seat. We're not sort of like working with another scoring guy. It's 100% NEKOFACE. So just pretty exciting.
I think that the biggest thing that people on the team has noticed, so since we have developed kind of it's the sound of how we were able to create a sound for the project, that is so unique, but yet so true to the lore. So that is what I think is just, as the project started, we kind of navigated uncharted territories, and I listened back to that stuff, and now
It all makes sense now.
yeah,
I did the same
it
thing.
all comes together.
I listened back and I was like, wow, this is actually really cohesively well-rounded. And you don't realize that until you go back and you listen to like all the material, and you think like, wow, this is quite a mountain of work. Like I didn't think at the time when we took on this project that in the end I would be sitting there going, wow, I mean, I'm really enjoying this personally from a listening standpoint. So I'm not even seeing it with the visuals. So it's so exciting.
Somebody had asked what the closest, somebody asked me this, what is the closest to a Kevin project? That, I mean, what would you say? Like Doubting Thomas, or?
Probably. I would say Doubting Thomas.
Yeah.
What's next for NEKOFACE? Christopher asks. More scores for video games or movies? Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe Stefan will keep us busy for some other things. Who knows? But we're always here. NEKOFACE. NEKOFACE.com and NEKOFACE Music at NEKOFACE Music on Instagram. Matt G, I'm a huge Silent Hill fan, having played all the games. Have you or Eric played any of the Silent Hill games? If so, which is your favorite? Which is your favorite Silent Hill soundtrack? Well, as I said, Silent Hill 2.
Yeah. I just finished it on my Steam Deck, I think.
You finished
Silent
it?
Hill 2. Yeah, I finished the whole thing. It's quite long.
Wow.
But it's Silent Hill 2 is probably
I've only ever finished one video game, and then that's when I realized that I shouldn't devote so much time to playing video games. It was a long time ago too, Castlevania on Nintendo. It was the only game I was like, sit there and sweat for 23 hours straight.
I mean, it's addictive. So it's like, if you don't, but the weird thing with what I think, going back playing the Silent Hill 2, which I think they're making a remake of now anyway, but it's the camera was so weird. It's like it almost made it, you know, more intense because you try to control it in a certain way. But yeah, I've tried all of them. Homecoming was the last one I think they came out. I didn't really care too much for that one, but yeah, Silent Hill 2 is probably my favorite for sure, and the music as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say that no, I haven't played the games, but I heard the music when
Oh yeah.
I got into this. I had to listen and study to make sure that I didn't. You know what's really funny is that right away, Akira Yamaoka's sort of sound just stuck with me. I was like, okay, that's it. It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like we used Dwayne and I used to call this style of music crier music, which means it would evoke a sad response or some sort of emotional value to it. And that was something that we used to really enjoy, was being able to label a particular piece of music we were working on crier. So we got quite a few criers.
Oh, I was gonna actually say that earlier. The sadness in this is immense. And I think there's several parts that personal situation, both for you and for me,
Oh,
influenced some of the pieces of music that is in this project that are
the day
evokes huge sadness.
when Fisherman died, I had done that piece of music that I sent, and you said you cried. I said I cried when I mixed that song. I said I couldn't listen to it because it made me cry, and you said, "Oh my God, it made me cry too."
Well, I wasn't I mean, I know you wrote it in such a way. It's also hard to, it's like, how do I take this, you know, and how do I make this, how do I expand on this? Oh, I'll just cry and add my sadness on top of it. That would there's a lot of dark moments for sure in this game. So Silent Hill 2
Silent Hill
is
2.
my
Yeah,
favorite.
that's what we picked. Jordan, when are we gonna do Making of Last Rites? So that's coming up soon. Stay tuned. And the process, yeah, as well. But let's stick with this. Have you ever heard of Machine Girl? Machine Girl, I thought maybe I did once. You and
I
Ogre
have-
did a scene in Doom Generation. Don't break a bone in that stunt. Yes, I broke my kneecap, 36 stitches in my leg, 7 stitches in my face, and a broken tooth. Ogre did Repo Genetic Opera, and you and Eric, of course, worked on Silent Hill. Graham Revell of SPK jumped on to becoming soundtrack artist, as did Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo. Oh, I watched Cocaine Bear last night, and Mark Mothersbaugh scored that. And I will say that his score did not save that movie. God, have you seen it? Do you see your career heading towards making more soundtracks? Also, any interest in getting in front of the camera again? What do you mean, so I can be injured? Well, I mean,
I think, yeah, that's a yes, both,
yeah. Um,
right?
what, with Cocaine Bear or
No, I mean, I think this could be the beginning of some next
it could be, but
phase.
I think the
We'll
point
see.
being is that I would absolutely hate it if somebody came and said, "We want you to score Cocaine Bear." I that wouldn't be my idea of fun, really. The thing is that what makes this so fun is this world of Silent Hill is exactly in tune with our world of music that you and I created, where we're
Yeah.
headed already. And so because it's now almost exclusive to it, it feels like, as I said earlier, I'm so glad a baseball game doesn't come along and it's like, oh,
Yeah, I I couldn't. I mean, whatever is next, we'll see what it is. But hopefully, we carve a little piece out of the horror genre
yeah.
and contribute to the future of emotional immersion.
Cocaine Bear, the crier mixes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but one movie that was pretty cool, and Evan on our team recommended this, is Smile. It's a horror movie on Amazon, and the soundtrack to that was I don't know if I want to call it a soundtrack, but sound design was freaking awesome. It was I recommend it. Smile. It's kind of a scary horror.
So Eric recommends Smile, and I do not recommend Cocaine Bear. Doom Generation got a re-release. I think Greg Araki did a remaster of it and has it had it re- I don't believe he recut it. So I don't have any info on that. Did Genesis ever release his unaccepted soundtrack Hellraiser, or what was it? That would have been Coil. Coil did release their soundtrack for Hellraiser. It was just released portions of it on a 10-inch. I mean, I kind of like thought that would be, possible for us to make music that was possibly too off the beaten path. But it seems that the music that we have produced has actually stayed quite well on that path, but can stumble into emotional chasms.
Oh yeah, there is definitely. I mean, again, the class. There's even, golly, there's. I mean, pieces that are just audible to horror, to where your hair stands up on your neck, to orchestral arrangements almost. I mean, it's a huge variety.
What is your favorite horror movie? If you had to pick one, do you have a favorite?
Well, I think one favorite horror movie.
Well, I'll tell you what mine is first while you think.
Okay.
The reason why I pick it is because I think it is one of the most perfect movies in the sense of how it's made and what it features and how terrifying it is. And the answer is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The greatest thing about that movie is there's very little actual blood in it. And it's mostly suggested as far as the actual, it's the terrifying and the terror. But one of the greatest things for me about that film is that Tobe Hooper and his partner went in and created the music themselves, very lo-fi, using distortion pedals. And if you listen closely to the score, it is just I just absolutely think it's just absolutely brilliant. And
oh yeah,
like
the flash, the slowed down flashes that. I mean yeah, it's brilliant.
And then my next favorite score, again, that goes with the motion picture that is just so troubling it isn't even funny, but Eraserhead. Eraserhead says such a perfect balance once again between minimalist music, again made by the director David Lynch, and his partner Alan Flett, I believe his name is, made the score for Eraserhead. And I mean, this is a perfect example of how less is more. I mean, personally, the Hans Zimmer approach to scoring is always the same.
Yeah.
I hate scores that always sound those same elements. You hear them in every movie. It'd be like, the orchestral,
the big hits,
just everything. It's just the same up, down. I'm on the roller coaster. It bores me to death. I think that's actually what puts me to sleep in a movie, is if there isn't a good marriage between the emotion of the setting, the movie, and the sound. So I think that with NEKOFACE, I wouldn't ever want to be involved in a project where I didn't feel I could get inside the emotion and truly
I agree,
represent it.
I was going to say The Shining is probably that, or a recent movie that I think you recommended, Suspiria.
Absolutely.
And the reason for the Suspiria is not, I don't know if it's a horror movie, but it's such a brilliantly written movie. And Tom York's score, I thought, was fabulous.
A lot of people are either on or off on this, and especially on the idea of remakes, but I am double thumbs up on that one. Also, the story is pretty much different how it goes. But what's her name? The lead actress in it,
Yeah,
Tilda.
yeah, I think so.
Uh,
Her performance,
her
multi-role
performance.
performance, as it say.
So afterwards, Rihanna said, "Did you know that she also plays the part of the guy?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I just watched the movie, and it's the same actor playing two parts. I just could not believe that. So forgive me for not remembering the name of her full name right now. Maybe someone on the side can post the name. Swinton. No. What's her name? Oh God, I hate this when I get a mental
She
blank.
was in that. Well, now I'm just Constantine as well. She was one of the angels in
Actress in
there.
the new Suspiria. Here we go. Tilda Swinton.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay,
brilliant performance.
absolute brilliant performance. And then you would think, okay, Tom York has to go up on making a score against the original Goblin.
Yeah,
I mean, who would want to do that? If someone came to me and said, I want you to rescore opera, by Dario Argento, I would be like, oh, come on. I don't want to ruin the legacy of Goblin. I think Goblin is one of the all-time greats. And
yeah.
absolutely monumental uh, scoring band that married so well with Italian horror. But
Oh, it's brilliant, brilliant. Both movies are brilliant, but golly, I don't know, something that with that movie that just kind of hits you. It's emotional. It's just very
I will
weird,
also
but
fully
great.
agree with you on The Shining. The
Yeah,
Shining, The Shining, even the score, the album itself, like I have it on vinyl, is an absolute, just a wonderful listen. And I know that they have some older music on, like 20s music that is in it too. But absolutely, was that Jerry Goldsmith that did that?
I'm not sure, but you walk away watching that movie, you don't feel good for the next hour.
Or The Shining.
Like it's there
Uh,
was somebody that made like they took that music from the
Wendy
bar.
Carlos. Wendy Carlos.
No way.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that score is
Okay, I'm
uh
sorry. I feel like I should put the giant cone above my head right now to not pay tribute to Wendy Carlos properly and have to say, was that Jerry Goldsmith? That Wendy Carlos, like what a legend, and basically I gotta say that's some study work right there for everybody, is to go out and listen to the scores of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as well as The Shining, as well as Eraserhead, and
oh
as
yeah.
well as the new version of Suspiria by Tom York.
And
Wow.
there's a multitude of other movies that we both have talked about. I don't even remember. I mean, that Smile movie, what was it? The Black Phone or something? Or a Dark Phone? I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
So
Uh,
there's multiple movies inspired us.
Absolutely. Exit 99, John Carpenter. I've always talked to you about John Carpenter, and then, of course, I end up quoting that the Thing as being fantastic, and then that's Ennio Morricone. So basically, um, I have to pay tribute here to where it's due, to the
Yeah.
master. Um, but I know the simplicity of that bass line in the intro of The Thing had to have come from the mind of John Carpenter, because John Carpenter was essentially a very big user and player of sequential circuits gear. He had notably a Prophet 10 that you could hear all over the stuff that he score when he'd score.
Yeah.
So I love listening to his stuff too.
Oh,
Anything that,
it's great.
like Escape from New York, or something like that, has the classic old John Carpenter sound.
It doesn't age. It sounds as
Yeah.
good today as it did. I mean, it's fantastic.
it would be nice to mix that element of saying, if you got that inspiration and said, well, let's take an element of like, say, what sort of like futuristic, nihilistic sort of broken punk future image, and then marry that with depression and anxiety, and be like,
Yeah.
okay, there's a concept I can work with.
No, you know, it's yeah, there's so many different styles. You know, the Blade Runner seemed like everybody on our team, and also that was not an easy. You're talking about like you know, Tom York and Suspiria. I don't think the first 5 meetings were just Akira. You know, like it was mentioning Akira Yamaoka all the time. Like, well, he did it this way and this way. But and again, big out to the sound team because they wanted like, okay, well, no, we want NEKOFACE scoring this, not Akira. It was, but yeah, we paid tribute to the good old Akira for sure.
For sure.
There are Easter eggs for sure.
And we do actually have to point out the Vangelis score of Blade Runner as being some sort of like very. I remember when I was young, when I watched Blade Runner, that I actually took the time to dub off the very end score, the very end scene on Blade Runner, the theme, the Vangelis theme, because I had to listen to it all the time. So there's
I love it.
some absolute greatness to.
Oh yeah.
Again, it's very simple. It's like a very simple sequence and a string line, but it's again the whole sort
I
of.
think he improvised it, didn't he? I think he was looking at these Ridley Scott, the pictures that he would send, and he would just play the CS80, just kind of like Vangelis would do, you know.
Andrew,
By
you're
the way, I want your
correct.
CS80.
We really need to point out the Delia Derbyshire score of The Legend of Hell House. I mean, I've gone on record as saying The Legend of Hell House to me is one of my most favorite movies of all time.
Really?
Absolutely. There's
I have
something
to see it.
wonderful about. Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, I have not seen
Oh, you so if you've been a long-term Skinny Puppy fan and you're going to watch the movie The Legend of Hell House, be prepared to smile a few times. You're going to recognize about 600 samples throughout that movie. I don't think I sampled a movie more than I sampled that one. So it has a lot of great things about it. I think like one of the greatest things about movies is when horror is focused on inanimate objects.
Yeah.
Darkness, corners, spaces, movements, ghosts. And I think Legend of Hell House is so effective at that. And I think that, of course, when they had to remake movies or do anything these days, they don't leave the simplicity. Like, say, for instance, the original Haunting, The Haunting. Sort of fabulous movie, the original black and white version, but then they had to remake it into, the special effects sort of version.
Yeah.
I didn't like that one, but the original is an absolute classic where you're looking at scenes where the girl's laying in bed and she's gazing over at the wallpaper and the wallpaper start crying at her. It was like stuff like that. It's just like so classic and then so amazing. Like the score is very minimalist. I don't know who did the score of The Haunting, but
I mean, one thing that I think we both learned in this, it's like 50%, and I don't remember, I had to ask Carson, but Glenn something, what was his name? Glenn Schofield. There's a guy who did Dead Space, a horror game, and he's done Call of Duties, whatever, famous game director. But he said 50% of horror is music and sound, like and stingers and all that stuff. And it draws that, immersion in. So.
Absolutely. Well, how it's 2 hours later there in Oklahoma.
It is.
And what are you going to do tonight?
I have nope. I'm probably going to do go through the OP1 again.
Oh, yeah. But after that, are you going to watch The Legend of Hell House?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I
No,
just wrote that down.
write that down. And I want to hear what
Yeah.
I want to hear. I want to hear your thoughts about it because it's gonna crack me up.
Oh,
Glenn
I'm sure.
Glenn Schofeld,
Yes.
is that the name of the guy who scored the original Haunting?
No, 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 no. He is
Oh,
a
oh,
game
that's
creator of Dead Space, which is a fairly known, very scary uh, horror game. But he has been very, very huge on music in horror movies. Like Call of Duty is like he said now because you want to hear footsteps. You know, you're running around, you want to hear when they come close to you. In horror games, it's like the thrill of something lurking, where there's something going to happen, something is happening, or so music is that element of that brings you in, that you can't move away. So I love those. And he had actually mentioned he was super excited about that your name was behind this score too. I saw on Twitter. So it's kind of cool to see, a lot of bigger game people are shouting out our involvement. So it's really honorable.
Yeah, and I'm very thankful to have a partner like you that I can work with. That basically it's fun, and that's what can I say other than that?
Well,
I, th- I think it's important to have fun at what you do and not be upset and not be depressed and
yeah.
everything. You've got to be give you some reason to be getting up in the day and be excited.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a positive interaction. I think for me, it's obviously a dream come true. I mean, you kind of brush it and it's like, oh, shut up with the fan stuff. But I mean, growing up it's kind of surreal for me. But then I kind of forget, that stuff
For me
kind of
too.
moves away. But
It's surreal for me too because I found a new musical partner when I didn't realize that that's what was happening. Hey,
yeah.
Eric, never forget this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just be thankful you don't have a job like that.
Oh yeah. I am. I mean, extremely grateful. I mean, all the other people that that you work with through the years. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous, honestly. I
Well,
mean, we had a meeting. You were not on a meeting, but it was interesting. We were talking about the history of Trent Reznor, and he had been brought up. I think Lustmord and Trent was on the list, the roster of scoring. But it was. I mean, it was immediate who they wanted to have it scored by. But the thing, you look back and Nine Inch Nails opened for you guys, and they were inspired by who you guys were. And I mean, Brian Williams, you need to get him on here, by the way. Lustmord.
he's too
I don't know
shy.
if
I've asked him several times, and he's just too shy.
really.
Yeah, he's
I
like
would love to hear his
I've
stories.
asked some people if I ask you twice and then you're like, maybe, and then I won't ask again because I don't want to be rude. So I asked Klaus Larson, I asked Les Mort, I've asked many people, and I don't want to be pushy. Gary Newman, all sorts of people.
Oh,
But
he would. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll be.
Gary's actually a lot more shy than people think. So he's not
You
very
know.
nostalgic either, and he knows that I'm all about nostalgia. So probably wants to talk about the future, and I want to talk about nothing but the past.
I love it. I mean, it's hopefully everybody will like what we have in store, and I'm sure there will be more projects.
Well, we'll keep you guys posted heavily on this. This is like actually work in progress, but we'd like to thank you guys for supporting NEKOFACE, and thank
Yes.
you, Rihanna, for all the support you give me here. Thank you to the Patreon crew for all the support you give, and as you can see, being a member of the Patreon does have some things that can happen. Eric is now living proof of that. So we should get back into the Subcon remixes.
Oh yeah,
We'll see
that
what's-
is so fun.
Yeah, we'll see that we reactivate those. But to those of you out there in the Patreon community, I'd like to thank you again and again and again for your support. It's been way more fun than I ever expected. And as I said, this project is as a result of that. And thank you to Genvid and Stefan and Evan and all the community that we work with there on Silent Hill Ascension. Guys, look forward to it. It's super exciting. Eric, thank you for joining me today. I will
Thank you
talk
for
to
having me.
talk to you later about your OP1 and your thoughts on Legend of Hell House.
I will do that. Thank
All
you
right.
guys so much.
Have a good one.
You too.
Peace all.